I got a taste for editing Gen 3 with my previous video, fixing Hoenn's rivals. Now while I do generally think Hoenn's gym leaders are a bit harder, there's certainly a lot of room for improvement. For example, Lovedisk is on Hoenn's team, and he's the 8th gym leader. Actually, let's mock him a bit more real quick. You can rematch gym leaders where they have stronger teams, and Hoenn's first rematch, he replaces Lovedisk for a Poliwag. Devs, explain yourself, I need to know all you're working for this one. Quick reminder that they will be scaled up slightly to a hypothetical hard mode, if Pokemon games included difficulty options. So expect slightly buffed levels, held items, movesets, and so on and so on. So sit back and let's see how well gym leaders in Hoenn have held up. We start with Roxanne, a rock-type gym leader of Rustboro Gym. Her match call says she prefers rock-hard Pokemon, which is very similar to what Brock says. So can we expect a similarly easy fight from her as we do Brock? Let's see. Out first is Geodude at level 12 with the Rock Head ability, and it knows Rock Tomb, Rock Throw, Tackle and Defense Curl. Pretty standard moveset. The problem I always have with this is that it's a Rock Ground type. 2 out of the 3 starters just invalidate this Pokemon, especially since it's slow and it's likely to faint before even getting to do anything. It's not really your fault, Geodude, it's just the reality you live in. Most of the time anyone sees this mon, they have a one-shot move ready to go. For the Torchic players though, you will struggle. But you can just evolve it into a Combuskin pretty easily, become neutral to rock types, and have a stab, 60 base power, super effective move in double kick. So at worst, you'll need to grind a level or 2 before facing them. Our second is an identical Geodude, which, great team composition, but the Geodudes are good XP early on, so I'll take it. Lastly, her ace, Nose Pass at level 15, with the sturdy ability, holding an Aura Berry, and it knows Rock Tomb, Tackle, Harden and Block. I respect this ace for Gym 1. Nose Pass is really bulky for the point in time, and since it lacks a secondary type, it only takes 2 times damage from water and grass attacks. Block is also an interesting choice. It certainly punishes the unprepared player, locking them into a potential bad matchup, and the Aura Berry, with Nose Pass's underwhelming HP, restores a decent chunk. The Geodudes are pushovers, sure, but I imagine a lot of you watching remember this tanky Nose Pass, dealing out solid damage with Rock Tomb. It's honestly not a bad end to the fight. So here's Roxanne's team. It begins similarly as Brock's fight, but her ace I'll take over Onyx any day. As well as the Aura Berry item is nice to see that Game Freak is willing to provide held items to gym leaders, even in a small part, which is a trend that does continue throughout the game. The biggest problem her team faces though is the weakness to the water and grass starters, go figure. So let's see if there's a rock type that can try and help out with that weak point. Out first is still Geodude at level 13, with the Rock Head ability, holding an Aura Berry, and it knows Rock Tomb, Rock Throw, Mud Slap and Defense Curl. It's too iconic to kick out. This Geodude is meant to ease the player into their first battle. Nothing too scary yet. It's still been improved by increasing its level by 1, giving it an Aura Berry and changing Tackle to Mud Slap. Lowered accuracy is always frustrating to deal with and could really help the rest of Roxanne's team. But yeah, it's still just a Geodude, so the real battle starts after you knock it out. Out second is Lileep at level 14, with the Suction Cups ability, holding an Aura Berry and knowing Bullet Seed, Acid, Ingrain and Sandstorm. We have Bullet Seed to deal with the Mudkip / Marsh Stomp line, and Acid for Trico and Grovyle. Ingrain makes this bulky Pokemon have more passive recovery, and the Sandstorm to provide passive damage. Plus, Gen 3 is the weather region, so get used to it. Unfortunately though, Lileep, for whatever reason, cannot learn Rock Tomb. I feel it makes sense for her though to have one, as Rustboro is the city where you can resurrect your fossil. At the Devon Corp, literally next door to her gym. Also, she has a Cradilly in the manga, just saying. Also, Lileep being grass type means it's neutral to fire, water and grass attacks, balancing the battle slightly for the 3 starters. If I was changing more to these games, I'd obviously just probably make Rock Tomb legal for Lileep, but I'm trying to stick with what's possible in the base game here. Third out, her Nose Pass at level 15 with the Magnet Pull ability, holding an Aura Berry, and knowing Rock Tomb, Rock Smash, Thunder Wave and Block. We've replaced Tackle with Rock Smash. Both are weak moves, but the Fighting type move provides coverage against certain mons like Zigzagoon and Poochyena, and can debuff the player Pokemon's defense stat, something I think combos well with Block to prevent switching out. Thunder Wave has replaced Harden, as again, preventing switching out and debilitating the trap Pokemon sounds like a decent strategy for what's available early on. Overall, it's a tanky debuffer for the first gym leader's ace. Here's Roxanne's new team, replacing a Geodude for Lileep to help counter her bad matchups, and while the Nose Pass level has stayed at 15, Her original team's 2 Geodudes were level 12, so Roxanne's non-ace Pokemon have increased in level slightly, along with better moves and an Orange Berry each. I think this is an appropriate level of difficulty for the first gym on hard mode. Brawly of Doofer Gym is an interesting case. You don't actually need to fight him, there's no roadblocks here. Once you deliver the letter to Steven, you can sail right on past and make your way to Gym 3, which is actually the tech if you're speedrunning this game. For his gym puzzle, well, it feels like you're entering a dark type gym to be honest, but I suppose training your senses in the dark is something that can apply to fighting types. For his team, he leads Machop at level 16. Guts ability, Annoying Karate Chop, Low Kick, Seismic Toss and Bulk Up. Decent fighting moves for Gym 2 for sure, but the big problem is that this thing hates battling, fighting resists. But most importantly, it cannot touch Sableye, which you can catch in the cave next to the town. This might be intentional on Game Freak's end here, but for a hard mode, this will not slide. Anyway, second out is Meditite at level 16, with ability Pure Power, Annoying Focus Punch, Light Screen, Reflect and Bulk Up. It's an interesting moveset here. Pure Power Focus Punch means it absolutely wrecks anything that allows it to attack, apart from Zubats and Sableye's. Screen Setter is not something I think of with fighting gyms, but I certainly don't mind it. It makes his ace very tanky anyway. Ultimately though, I believe this Meditite has a preference to spam Focus Punch, so just attack with any move that can't miss, and you should be safe here. His ace Makihita is level 19 with the Thick Fat ability, holding a Citrus Berry and knowing Arm Thrust, Vital Throw, Reversal and Bulk Up. Like Machop, this is an all fighting moveset, with some interesting moves. Vital Throw is a solid 70 base power, but has negative priority. But I mean, it's Makihita, it goes last anyway. And Reversal can be nasty at low health, as it's a surprise attack dealing heavy damage. Same problem though as Machop. It hates Zubat and just loses to Sableye. I've got to say though, for a Pokemon with a very low BST, this ace puts up a solid fight if you don't have great counters. The Citrus Berry healing a huge chunk of its HP, as in Gen 3 it heals a flat 30 health, certainly adds a lot of bulk for it. Overall it's not bad by any means, it just has a few horrid matchups that we should try to avoid. So here's Brawly's team. Decent picks, just the moveset is too one-track minded with fighting moves. Using egg moves and tutor moves will be our friends here, which is something that actually happens in the base game. For Brawly's improved team, he's still leading Machop at level 17 with the Guts ability, holding an Orange Berry, knowing Karate Chop, Seismic Toss, Foresight and Bulk Up, +1 level with an Orange Berry and replacing Low Kick for Foresight so it can actually target Sableye. At the very least, it'll force the player to switch around to reset the Foresight. Low Kick is a great move, but realistically in most situations it will be weaker than Karate Chop, due to the light-weighted nature of the non-evolved Pokemon the player will be using. Out second is Meditite at level 18 with Pure Power, holding an Orange Berry, knowing Focus Punch, Hidden Power Ghost, Light Screen and Reflect. At level 18, Meditite learns Hidden Power, making it Ghost here to help deal with the Kadabra some players will be using, and it is a neutral attack for Sableye. I maintain Focus Punch as it feels rather iconic and can catch people lacking, and dual screen support is appreciated on an early game fighting team that otherwise mainly just has brute force at its disposal. Brawly's ace, Makihita, is level 19 with the Guts ability, holding a Citrus Berry, and has Vital Throw, Reversal, Thunder Punch and Bulk Up. The only difference here is replacing Arm Thrust for Thunder Punch. Arm Thrust being only 15 base power per hit means at best it's barely stronger than Vital Throw, so it's not worth an additional move slot. Instead, Thunder Punch provides an option to hit Sableye and helps against the flying types. While admittedly Makihita has an awful special attack, it's still early game and Thunder Punch is decently powerful, so it should put a dent to those weak to it. Here's Brawly's team. It's the same Pokemon used, as a lot of other fighting types in Hoenn would be too strong. Instead, each team member now has a way to deal with their worst matchups, while sporting slightly better levels for his first two Pokemon. I feel the gym leaders would have access to the move tutors, so expect me to utilise that going forward. The Moorville gym leader Watson, a jolly old man that specialises in electric types. His gym puzzle is touted as some complex, crazy lightning maze, when in reality you flip like 2 switches, walk past most of the trainers, no problem. Watson himself is surprised and amused you somehow managed to make it past his labyrinth of lasers. Also, I want to note the gym trainers in this place. I think Watson got anyone he could nab off the street to work here. Battle Girl Vivian has Meditites, youngster Ben with a Zigzagoon and Gulpin, and Bug Maniac Angelo with Illumise and Volbeat. Sounds very random, but they have some electric moves on them. Ben Zigzagoon has Thunderbolt, even stronger than Watson's Shockwave, but it's Zigzagoon so it does nothing. The Meditites have Thunder Punch and the Bugs have Shockwave. Certainly an interesting bunch if nothing else. Let's see if Watson's team follows in these unique team choices. He leads with Voltorb at level 20, with the ability Soundproof and knowing Shockwave, Spark, Rollout and Self-Destruct. It's fast, frail, with fairly low offenses. The main thing here is Spark's 30% paralysis and Self-Destruct, which is essentially 400 base power, deals heavy damage to just about anything that doesn't resist, and can potentially KO despite its pitiful attack stat. Ultimately, however, it's usually not that much of a problem. Out second is Electrike at level 20, with the static ability, knowing Shockwave, Quick Attack, Leer and Howl. A weak Pokemon, shouldn't pose much of a threat whatsoever, feels very much like a filler team slot and it can't really touch Marshtomp. Out third is Magneton at level 22, with the Magnet Pull ability, knowing Shockwave, Sonic Boom, Supersonic and Thunder Wave. Watson, you're cheating. Magnemite evolves at level 30. Maybe I need to do a follow-up video on that NPCs that cheat, as there are a bunch more to go through. Anyway, with really great stats and a really good typing, its downfall is Marshtomp, and any other ground type really, as Sonic Boom is still just okay, but it's not going to turn the tide against them. But if the player lacks ground types, then this is a serious threat. Watson's ace is Manectric at level 24. Doesn't evolve until 26 though, Watson. Come on now, you're looking like Lance right now. It has the static ability and is holding a Citrus Berry. I know Shockwave, Quick Attack, Thunder Wave and Howl. It's a high BST ace for Gym 3. Shockwaves hit hard and Citrus Berry adding more health means it is quite scary. If you don't have a Marshtomp, that is. Noticing a theme here? Here's Watson's team. The general rule for electric types is they're good until they battle a type that resists them, mainly due to their lack of move coverage options. Watson absolutely gets demolished by Marshtomp, and in general, all the starters have a decent shot against him, but if you don't use the starter type at all, he genuinely becomes one of the hardest gym leaders you can fight. Magneton and Manectric by Gym 3 are really tough. I'm not sure how easy it'll be here, but the main goal here is to give Watson better options to deal with the starters, most importantly for Marshtomp. So Watson's lead will still be Voltorb, now at level 21, with Static, knowing Shockwave, Spark, Rollout and Self-Destruct. And now it's holding a Silk Scarf, to give Self-Destruct the equivalent of a 40 base power increase. I was considering removing Rollout as it feels a bit unnecessary, but honestly, this way it prevents any sneaky players thinking they can wall it with Shedinja. Second out is Minun at level 21, with the Minus ability, holding an Oran Berry, and its moves are Shockwave, Spark, Secret Power and Thunder Wave. Replacing Electrike, we're using one of the Pikachu-like Pokemon found here. Its stats are plenty competent for Gym 3, and the only move that sticks out slightly is Secret Power, which I thought makes sense, being its secondary effect, inside a building is a 30% paralysis chance, and that you get the TM for Secret Power shortly after this gym. Also provides Minun with a stronger option for ground types, though it isn't going to blow them away. Third is Magneton level 22, as the Magnet Pull ability, holds an Oran Berry and knows Shockwave, Sonic Boom, Metal Sound and Reflect. As stated, Magneton is an awesome Pokemon, but unfortunately it really lacks options for ground types, especially at level 22. So the strategy I'm going with is to Metal Sound them, set up Reflect, and let the Manectric handle them, as you'll soon see. Outside of dealing with ground types though, this is a very strong Pokemon, so not much else needs changing. Watson's Manectric Ace is at level 24 with the static ability, holding a Citrus Berry, it knows Shockwave, Bite, Quick Attack and Thunder Wave. Replacing Howl for Bite here is essential coverage. Looking at its learn set, it doesn't learn Bite until level 39, so this is made legal through breeding. Bite being a special attack gives Manectric an okay option for ground types, especially if they've been metal sounded. Again though, not much has been changed here otherwise, as this is a very competent ace. Here's Watson's new team. The Electrike got replaced and the rest of the team saw generally small changes. His main issue was being completely ruined by ground types, and while they're still a big weak point, early game electric types just can't do that much about it. At least now their movesets are a bit better equipped to deal with them. He is actually rather strong if not using a starter, especially Marshtomp. The perception of his strength has been warped a bit, purely by Marshtomp. Flannery is the newly appointed gym leader of the very laid-back town of Lavaridge. She's so new she doesn't even have her intro speech down pat yet. Don't let that fool you. As you'll see, she incorporates a strategy that for Gym 4 is pretty tough. She leads with a level 24 Nummel with the Oblivious ability, knowing Overheat, take down, Magnitude, and Sunny Day. Fair to say her lead slot isn't much of an issue. Overheat is incredible at 140 base power, and its downside of lowering the special attack by 2 stages isn't too bad, considering Numel would be thankful if it gets the second attack off. The best thing it can do is set up the sun probably, considering it has a 4 times weakness to water. Overall, it's a Pokemon with weak stats that is too underleveled. Second out is Slugma at level 24 with the Magma Armor ability. Its moves are Overheat, Smog, Light Screen, and Sunny Day. Similar vein to Numel here, low level and weak stats, though if Numel manages to set up the sun and Slugma manages to overheat, the damage may just surprise some people. Outside of that, if Slugma somehow survives a hit, then Light Screens, it is nice team support, and Smog is Smog, who cares. So really not that good of a Pokemon. Third out is Camerupt at level 26, having the Magma Armor ability, and his moves are Overheat, Tackle, Attract, and Sunny Day. Putting aside Numel evolves at level 33, the real battle begins now. Far better stats that can make Overheat easily KO a lot of Pokemon, especially if the sun's out. It's funny that Tackle is still being used when Magnitude is right there, and Attract is situationally very annoying, but half the time it's not going to do anything. Basically more fodder for Marshtomp players. For any Grovyle players though, you better have a Fire Resist or a Thick Fat Mon here. Usually I try not to bring up the starters too much as we progress further throughout the games, as the player at this point has a wide array of team building options. But the Mudkip line makes such easy work of this region, it can really warp someone's perspective of the difficulty of the gyms, so it is worth mentioning here. But yeah, Camerupt definitely a threat if you lack a decent answer for fire types. Speaking of threat, Flannery's ace, Torkoal at level 29 with the White Smoke ability and holding a White Herb. Its moves are Overheat, Body Slam, Attract, and Sunny Day. A gym leader using a held item that isn't a berry. This is wild. It's actually implemented perfectly for this Pokemon as well, so White Herb will reset Overheat's -2 special attack after its first use, letting you use 2 in a row at a full 140 base power. And thanks to Torkoal's White Smoke ability, it prevents the player from dropping any of Torkoal's stats. There's no way for the player to growl, tail whip, etc. to force the White Herb to be consumed early. Game Freak, you have my respect for this one Pokemon. Aside from that, Body Slam is a great option to help deal with things that resist fire, and a 30% chance to paralyze is nice. With balanced offenses, Torkoal can make both physical and special work, and lastly, Attract again is hit or miss, but thanks to Torkoal just being a tougher opponent than Camerupt, the player may need to switch around, and limiting how the player can swap in with Attract certainly further aids this Mon. Overall, I'm really happy with this ace. I have memories of struggling against Flannery back in the day, and even now, if I don't prepare properly, I could struggle. Especially because she has 2 Hyper Potions, easily fully recovering her bulky Torkoal. Here's Flannery's team. A big level disparity here. The first 2 members are kinda next to pointless, but the last 2, especially the Torkoal, are serious contenders. I love that she's using a strategy with a held item. It's great to introduce players to new strats that they may have never even considered before, and it creates a boss fight that has more unique points to it, to make it more memorable and challenging. Let's rework her team, as there's still plenty we can adjust. Her new lead is Ninetales at level 27 with the Flash Fire ability, holding a White Herb and knowing Overheat, Feint Attack, Will-O-Wisp, and Sunny Day. A forgettable Pokemon found in Hoenn, upon Mount Pyre, but Ninetales offers solid stats and utility thanks to Sunny Day and Will-O-Wisp. With the Sun reducing fire types, 1 special weakness in water, and Will-O-Wisp reducing its 2 physical weaknesses, ground and rock. This should be a solid lead mon for Flannery that puts pressure on the player from the get-go. Second out is Camerupt at level 28 with the Magma Armor ability, holding a White Herb while knowing Overheat, Magnitude, Sunny Day, and Attract. Just slight changes here to the original, a +2 to its level, it's now holding a Soft Sand, and we swapped out Tackle for Magnitude to give it a decent secondary attacking option, utilising its high attack stat. Flannery's ace is still Torkoal at level 29, having the White Smoke ability and holding the White Herb. Its moveset is Overheat, Body Slam, Attract, and Sunny Day. As far as a level 29 Torkoal in Gen 3 is concerned, the moveset is really good, the stats are solid, and the Overheat spam is spamming. So I already said why I like it, so yeah, good job Game Freak. Pretty quick, but here's Flannery's new team. Her ace in both difficulties is level 29, but the competency of her team here is far better, with her whole team utilising the powerful Overheat spam strategy. I think this is actually the first time I've reduced the number of team members for a harder team version, but Numel and Slugma weren't really doing much for her, and the only other fire types I could consider giving her is Combuskin, and I didn't really want to do that. Overall though, I expect this to be a lot tougher of a fight. It's a rare encounter, a Pokemon protagonist father. Norman is the normal type gym leader of Petalburg City, and is the reason the player is even in Hoenn to begin with, as he was offered a job as the gym leader, moving all the way from Johto's Olivine City. Considering how bad the gym leaders are in Johto, can we expect the same from him? Let's see. He leads with a Spinda at level 27, with the own tempo ability, knowing Facade, Psybeam, Teeter Dance and Encore. Not a great lead here, the level is a bit low and Spinda has base 60 across the board for stats. Encore can be a great move, but the AI doesn't know when it's a good time to use it. Overall, underwhelming lead, but I suppose Confusion Cheese exists to annoy the player for a bit. Second out is Vigoroth at level 27 with the Vital Spirit ability, knowing Facade, Slash, Feint Attack and Encore. Definitely a step up here, far nicer base stat total and stat distribution, though its moveset is fairly plain with Feint Attack doing little damage thanks to it being a special attack. Out third is Linoon at level 29 with the pickup ability, and it has the moves Facade, Slash, Headbutt and Belly Drum. Guys, it's Belly Drum Linoon. Can be scary to the unprepared player mucking about, but without extreme speed you'll be okay. And most of the time I think it'll just lead to Linoon making it easier for you to KO it in one turn. Its moveset is also odd. All three of its attacks are 70 base power, normal attacks with 100% accuracy. I know you're the normal type gym leader, Norman, but come on, a little bit of coverage can go a long way here. So Linoon is walled easily by any rock or steel types and can't even touch ghosts. Its stats already aren't anything impressive for this stage as well. For one of my favourite Pokemon, I'm a little sad they didn't go further with it. Lastly, Norman's ace, the big beefy level 31 Slacking with the Truant ability holding a Citrus Berry. It knows Facade, Feint Attack, Counter and Yawn. An absolute menace to the unprepared, with stats the same as box art legendaries like Groudon. When you first damage this thing and see it lose roughly 1/8 of its max HP, and then it retaliates with its base 160 attack stat Facades, the fear creeps in.
Oh jeez.
Feint Attack being its coverage move is not great, but unlike Vigoroth it has a usable base 95 special attack stat. It does feel like a bit of a waste not using its attack stat, especially considering thanks to Truant, this guy only attacks every second turn. To that point, Truant just means any Pokemon with Protect, such as Pelipper or Dustox, can easily counter this behemoth. Just teach them the Toxic TM though, as otherwise they may struggle with damage output, but if you use that strategy, you're a coward. Overall though, I think it's a very imposing ace that can intimidate purely on how well it tanks hits. So here's Norman's team. Whenever we think of Norman, I'm pretty sure we all just have that Slacking come to mind. The other Pokemon are okay. Vigoroth can deal some decent damage, and Linoon, if you somehow let it set up Belly Drum, is a threat, but any player worth their salt won't be fazed by them. I'd say the biggest issue on Norman's team is a lack of coverage moves. One Psybeam and 2 Feint Attacks aren't tipping the scales here, but overall, as a normal type fan, I think it could have ended up a lot worse. But now let's do what we do and give his team an upgrade. Norman's new lead will be the choice band Huge Power Azurill with Double Edge. Nah, just kidding, but wait, damage calculator? That's stronger than Slacking's Facade. Even without a choice band, it'd be decent damage. So his actual lead will be Vigoroth at level 29, with the Vital Spirit ability, holding a Silk Scarf, a knowing Facade, Brick Break, Feint Attack and Encore. Now with a +1 to its level, holding a Silk Scarf and adding Brick Break over Slash, it provides Vigoroth with a higher damage output, with an option to deal with Rock and Steels that previously walled it. Out second is Wigglytuff at level 29, as the Keep Charm ability is holding a Citrus Berry. Its moveset is Facade, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam and Flamethrower. You wanted coverage, Norman, and now you're getting it. Jigglypuff found on Route 115, with balanced offenses gives Norman a great Pokemon to use his Facade TM on, and splash out on special attack and coverage moves without it being over the top strength wise. Normal types famously have amazing coverage options, so I think it'd be nice to see that in action for at least one Pokemon on his team. Norman has emptied out his family savings account for the sake of a freaking Wigglytuff. Was it worth it, father? Third out is Swellow at level 30 with the Guts ability and holding a sharp beak. Its moveset is Facade, Wing Attack, Steel Wing and Focus Energy. A way to help counteract against Normal's only weakness to fighting, Swellow has decent attack and amazing speed. It's pretty standard dual stab moves, and Steel Wing assists against rock types. Lastly, Focus Energy is a pseudo boosting move, as Swellow doesn't have much else that would be particularly great for the fourth move. Last out is the big bad Slacking at level 31 with the Truant ability, holding a Silk Scarf, and knows Facade, Brick Break, Feint Attack and Yawn. If this was a later gym, I would have considered Shadow Ball, but some mercy as it's Gym 5. Like Vigoroth, we provided Brick Break as a means to deal with Rock and Steels. Feint Attack, while not great, is a way to handle Ghost types, and Yawn is solid at spreading sleep around and forcing the player to switch about. We've equipped the Silk Scarf on it just to really make its facades hit hard. And unfortunately there's no way to counter the Protect exploit, but that's just a built-in weakness of using a slacking. Here's Norman's team. Spinda and my beloved Linoon got the boot, and replaced with Swallow to help deal with fighting types, and Wigglytuff to provide some special attack and coverage to catch players off guard, and give it many super effective targets. Vigoroth and Slacking have seen some improvements to their coverage as well, reducing the amount of hard walls they will face, and in general, levels of the non-aces have been improved to make every team member feel like a legitimate threat. Winona, the flying type gym leader of Fortree City. The city has a very interesting design. Living in tree houses is such a sick idea. Why don't we do that instead of living in boring towns and cities? As the title card suggested, her Altaria is what comes to mind when we think of her. Let's go into her team and discuss why that is. She leads with a Swablu at level 29 with the natural cure ability, knowing Aerial Ace, Mirror Move, Perish Song and Safeguard. I'd call this a great example of Pokemon giving boss battles weak fodder lead mons that just allow the player to set up and easily sweep. But thankfully, Perish Song stops Swablu from being that, fainting every non-soundproof Pokemon in 3 turns, though don't get me wrong, Swablu isn't doing much here. It's at the same level as Flannery's Ace 2 gyms ago, but with far worse stats and moves. Mirror Move is amusing though, so +1 point for that. But yeah, the only reason I'm not wailing on this too much is Perish Song. Out second is Tropius at level 29, with the Chlorophyll ability, knowing Aerial Ace, Solar Beam, Synthesis and Sunny Day. Well, it's an underleveled Tropius, which doesn't have the most amazing of stat distributions. Also, good time to note the player gets easy access to Ice Beam after surfing to the abandoned ship. So yeah, unfortunate time to be 4 times weak to that. I am at least happy to see Sunny Day be put to good use here, activating Chlorophyll, turning Solar Beam into 1 turn charge, increasing increasing the move's healing ability, though it is unfortunate that the rest of her team doesn't care for the sun, and is in fact detrimental to her next 2 Pokemon. Next is Pelipper at level 30 with the Keen Eye ability, knowing Aerial Ace, Water Gun, Supersonic and Protect. Seriously now? Water Gun? Look at Pelipper's stat spread. It's a special attacker that only has Water Gun, and its stronger base 60 Aerial Ace is utilising its base 50 attack stat. Now imagine if the sun's out. Yeah, this mon probably won't be a problem. The most it could do is hit the 55% accurate Supersonic, and the player's mons hit themselves a few times while getting chipped down by Pelipper's weak attacks. And that is much more unlikely than likely to happen, so it's not a great team member here. Fourth is Skarmory at level 31, with the Keen Eye ability, knowing Aerial Ace, Steel Wing, Fury Attack, and Sand Attack. We can all agree, I'm sure, Skarmory is a great mon. Awesome typing, many resists, good stat distribution, and at least 2 decentish stab moves. Fury Attack is a big waste though, and Sand Attack, well, yeah, it can prove to be effective if the RNG works out, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. Overall, it's a great Pokemon that could use some tweaks to further capitalise on its strengths. Last out is Altaria at level 33 with the natural cure ability and holding an Oran Berry, for some reason. Its moves are Aerial Ace, Earthquake, Dragon Breath and Dragon Dance. Now this is a Pokemon that can sweep the unprepared player, with a stat spread implying a more bulky passive role, but a moveset of a setup sweeper. This Pokemon can tank most hits, apart from Ice Beam, and set up a Dragon Dance or 2, then dish out powerful attacks. I'm not sure why Game Freak decided to give Altaria Earthquake, but I'm not complaining. Though I will question why they gave her an Oran Berry when every other ace from Broly onwards has a citrus. Did Game Freak think that Winona's Altaria was extra strong already, so they wanted to nerf it just slightly by downgrading the held item? Or is it Game Freak oversight? You be the judge, comment down below if you actually care. Here's Winona's team. The first 5-member squad so far. I appreciate each team member has a different secondary type, even if the mons aren't that great. For example, Tropius at least offers neutrality to electric, Pelipper to ice, and Skarmory to rock and ice. There's a fair amount of room for improvement here, as most of our team is a little low leveled, and looking at you Pelipper, have underwhelming movesets. Winona's lead is now Pelipper at level 31, with Keen Eye and holding a Citrus Berry. It knows Aerial Ace, Surf, Icy Wind and Thief, upgrading Water Gun to Surf, adding an Ice type for move coverage that will lower the player Pokemon's speed, and adding Thief on the off chance Pelipper gets the chance to steal an item, after consuming a Citrus Berry. Also, this means Tropius Sunny Day can't disrupt Pelipper's surf damage. Second out is Skarmory at level 32 with the Keen Eye ability, holding a sharp beak and has Aerial Ace, Steel Wing, Spikes and Whirlwind. A +1 in level, 10% more damage from Aerial Ace, and Spikes over Fury attack because I just love entry hazards. Whirlwind could also cause a bit of mayhem then. The potential to force in bad matchups that can take spike damage could be a bit encumbersome for the player should the AI opt to do this. Overall though, not massive changes here, but Skarmory is a good Pokemon already. Hopefully this gives it the little boost it could use. Third out is the People's Champion Tropius at level 32, with the Chlorophyll ability, holding a Miracle Seed, knowing Aerial Ace, Solar Beam, Sunny Day and Synthesis. I actually think Tropius is a pretty good moveset. Now with +3 levels and a Miracle Seed, should it set the sun we can expect an improved damage output. I could have given it Earthquake and the like, but with Altaria already having that, it felt a bit too cheeky to double up on that for the flying gym leader of Gym 6. Fourth out is Ninjask at level 33 with the speed boost ability, holding a King's Rock, it knows Aerial Ace, Silver Wind, Slash and Sword Stance. In case you haven't noticed, I like Ninjask. Look at that speed stat fellas, hoo boy. Combine that with King's Rock and you got no way to outspeed this and avoid potential flinching. With two 60 base power stabs though, it's not demolishing everything in its path, but if she manages to set up a Sword Stance and or gets an Omni Boost from Silver Wind, then this could snowball. But Ninjask is rather frail, so a decent strong attack should be enough. Last out is her Altaria at level 34, with the natural cure ability and holding a Citrus Berry. Its moves are Aerial Ace, Earthquake, Dragon Breath and Dragon Dance. Barely had to change this, just +1 to its level and replace its Aura Berry for a Citrus. Here's Winona's new team. Most of the changes come from improved movesets and slight level ups. The only replacement here is we have a Ninjask over Swablu, maintaining Winona having our whole team have different secondary typings. Tate and Liza are the gym leaders of Mossdeep Gym, specialising in psychic type Pokemon. They're twins and fight using the double battle format, and apparently their father has trouble telling them both apart. He may need his eyes tested because the differences are very clear. But let's see if the differences in playstyle are just as clear. Clever transition, eh? They lead with Claydol and Xatu at level 41, but let's focus one at a time here. Claydol has the Levitate ability and knows Psychic, Earthquake, Ancient Power and Light Screen. A pretty strong start here. Earthquake Claydol is awesome, as, spoilers, their whole team is either flying or has the Levitate ability. And Ancient Power is okay coverage with the Omni Boost potential, and with Light Screen affecting both Pokemon, it's a solid support move that can turn both their Pokemon into special walls for a while. As for the Xatu, it has the Synchronize ability and knows Psychic, Confuse Ray, Sunny Day and Calm Mind. The Sunny Day is pretty pointless, as you'll see. It does technically help one of their aces, but it's really not needed. Confuse Ray is whatever, not much of note here, should probably be a coverage move instead. The main appeal here though is Calm Mind and Psychic. It can be hard knowing what to target first. The Earthquake spamming Claydol that could potentially Omni Boost and set up a screen, or Calm Mind boosting Xatu. Both have the potential to become scary here, and I think that really lends to the fight feeling tough. Oh, and to be honest, their levels are very competent for this stage. The player could find themselves out-leveled here. For one of their two aces, it's Lunatone at level 42 with Levitate and holding a Citrus Berry. It knows Psychic, Hypnosis, Light Screen and Calm Mind. Now, Rock Psychic is an interesting type. The stats aren't too great though, and the Mono Psychic moveset renders it completely walled by Dark types. Also, come on now, Calm Mind and Light Screen, can we maybe use Reflect to patch up that defense stat? Seems a bit excessive here. Hypnosis can complicate things if it hits, but 60% accuracy can easily make this waste some turns. Overall, it is an interesting ace that needs a coverage attack and leans too far into boosting special defense while neglecting their defense stat. The other ace is Solrock at level 42 with Levitate, holding a Citrus Berry, and knowing Psychic, Solar Beam, Flamethrower and Sunny Day. Game Freak, you've lost me on this one. Look at Solrock's stats. It's a physical attacker, so why does it have a special moveset? It's a sun, therefore Sunny Day, and then I suppose we need to capitalize on that with Flamethrower and Solar Beam. Yeah, you ain't slick, Game Freak. Overall, a lot of wasted potential for this one. So here's Tate and Liza's team. It's rare, but I feel the non-ace Pokemon are what really makes this battle hard. Earthquake spam really sets up the battle nicely for them, with Calm Mind set up sweeping, and at least Light Screen support. This can be a very scary team to those that lack Dark types or good physical hitters. Though because I'm a menace, I'm going to do my best to remove those weak points and really make this double battle team a test of skill. Tate and Liza's lead is still Claydol, at level 41, with the Levitate ability and holding the Soft Sand. It knows Earthquake, Rock Slide, Psychic and Reflect. So the changes here are Soft Sand held item to make those Earthquakes even stronger, upgrading Ancient Power to Rock Slide. And while the Omni Boost is amazing, it is rare, and having a spread damaging move in Rock Slide to punish the flying types would work nicely, I think. Psychic of course is still here, and Reflect over Light Screen. As stated, these twins have been neglecting their defense. Not major changes here, but I don't think it's needed. Claydol's double partner Xatu at level 41 with the Synchronize ability, holding a Twisted Spoon, knowing Psychic, Giga Drain, Light Screen and Calm Mind. No more Sunny Day strats here, we've got Flannery covering for that. Instead we can now opt for a secondary attack, in this case Giga Drain, as there's not many other special attacking options Xatu can use in Gen 3. Swampert players in shambles. Also instead of Confuse Ray we have Light Screen. This combined with Claydol's Reflect means both of the defensive stats are covered, making it far easier for them to get additional turns in and assist in Xatu's Calm Mind setting up. So again, it's nothing major change here, just a moveset adjustment to provide a more synergistic strategy. Out third is Lunatone at level 42, with Levitate, holding a Citrus Berry and knowing Psychic, Ice Beam, Reflect and Calm Mind. Replacing Light Screen with Reflect and Hypnosis with Ice Beam, so now it won't be walled by Dark types. It's pretty cool how Lunatone can learn Ice Beam. Honestly, I wouldn't mind playing through a Pokemon game with one at some point. Lastly is Solrock at level 42 with Levitate, holding a Citrus Berry, and it knows Earthquake, Rock Slide, Shadow Ball and Cosmic Power. We've foregone even a Psychic attack here. Solrock's special attack just isn't worth it. We do however have the Psychic boosting move Cosmic Power, a fairly uncommon move that boosts both defense and special defense. That with Light Screen support, we have ourselves a wall here. For the moves, Earthquake and Rock Slide are obvious picks to hit both the player's Pokemon at the same time, and Shadow Ball as a solid answer to Ghost types, which the player can catch shortly before in Mount Pyre. So here's Tate & Liza's new team. Solrock I'd say has the biggest change here. I mean, we had to. It had an all special moveset before, come on now. But important to note that their team hasn't changed at all. They originally employed a solid strategy using spread moves that don't affect their Pokemon, to team support moves like Light Screen. As duel battles were new in Gen 3, it makes sense the gym leaders are using attacks that show the player how some of the moves function differently than in single battles, and making them work with your doubles partner, not against. Upgrading the already existing synergy should further showcase the effectiveness and difficulty of their team. The 8th gym leader, Hoenn, the water type expert of Utopia City. He's Wallace's mentor, who, spoilers, is the champion, and in Ruby and Sapphire was actually the original 8th gym leader of Hoenn. So it's pretty cool to see a gym leader changing in the 3rd version. At the time it hadn't been done before, so I bet that caught a few players off guard. Anyway, Hoenn only has Mademoiselles in his gym, the Sly Dog, and apparently uses Pokemon of Elegance. Let's be the judge of that. He leads with Love Disc at level 41 with Swift Swim, and it knows Water Pulse, Flail, Sweet Kiss and Attract. Right, okay, you can argue it's elegant, sure, but we all know Love Disc is pure and utter shit. 330 BST, so slightly more than the water starters. And look, I like Love Disc more than most, but this is just not a threat. It's a setup sweeper's dream. On top of that, Hoenn's gym TM is Water Pulse. It's underwhelming at this stage at 60 base power, but at least it has a 20% chance to confuse. In Fire Red, you get that TM for beating Misty, the 2nd gym. Love Disc needs Water Spout and Drizzle or something to have a chance here, while holding some made up item that doubles Love Disc's special attack, like the Thick Club or Light Ball. I'm sorry Love Disc, but maybe if you were in Gym 1 or 2, it'd be a fair team addition. Not Gym 8 though. Second out is Whiscash at level 41 with the Oblivious ability, and it knows Water Pulse, Earthquake, Amnesia and Rain Dance. While certainly a significant step up from Love Disc and supporting a great type that's only weak to grass, while being immune to the other weakness of water, electric types. Stab Earthquake is great, and Rain Dance to support the whole team, yeah that makes sense. The main downside I suppose is that the BST is just middle of the road and the stat spread isn't amazing. Also Gen 3 Whiscash can't learn Dragon Dance, which is, in my opinion, the best thing about it. So yeah, certainly not top tier, but compared to Love Disc, it's like a legendary. Also, is this an elegant Pokemon guys? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, I suppose. Out third is the extremely elegant Celio at level 43 with Thick Fat and knowing Water Pulse, Aurora Beam, Body Slam and Encore. So it's a middle stage Evo with not great stats. Ice typing and Aurora Beam as something to deal with grass types is appreciated. Though, why isn't it Ice Beam? This is a mid Evo using mid moves. Though it is fairly tanky, just don't expect it to KO anything back. Fourth out is Crawdon at level 43 with Hyper Cutter, and it knows Water Pulse, Crab Hammer, Taunt and Leer. Having a stronger water move is great, and unfortunately it doesn't learn a strong dark type attack. Unless you level this up in Fire Red, then it learns Crunch at level 51. Seriously, who decided that change for Crawdon for Kanto? Who is leveling up their Crawdon there? I genuinely want to know. Taunt typically isn't too great in game, as most players just spam the attack button to win. Or if they set up, then they'd have done it against the love disc. And Leer, why are we leering when we have no physical moves? Which Crawdon would very much enjoy having something to take advantage of its awesome attack stat. Overall, a bit of a letdown here. Use anything that resists water and you'll be fine. Hoenn's ace is Kingdra at level 46, holding a Chester Berry, knowing Water Pulse, Ice Beam, Double Team and Rest. You've won me over, Hoenn. I'm repeating this a lot, but I think the statement really rings true. I think many of us have fond memories of this Kingdra, setting up double teams, we eventually bring it into the red, and boom, Resto Chesto. We love seeing Game Freak dabble in held items directly involved in their strategies. Resto Chesto is iconic as well. Kingdra itself is a great mon, with a typing making it only weak to dragon moves, and a very balanced stat spread. There's not really a glaring weak point to exploit, and if you try using a dragon type to exploit its one weakness, then get ice beamed, you idiot. Overall, really solid ace. Only complaint here is using Water Pulse. Maybe I can change that on one or two of his team members. Anymore, I feel I'll incur the wrath of the commenters. So here's Hoenn's team. If I had to rate them worst to best, it'd probably be F tier Love Disc, C tier Celio, C tier Crawdon, maybe low B tier Whiscash, and I don't know, high A, low S tier Kingdra. Huge gaps in power across his team. Love Disc lead letting players exploit setting up is a problem especially. While the other non-ace team members can be some annoyance to the player, the big bad Kingdra is what steals the show here. Let's see what we can do to give these other team members their 15 minutes of fame. Hoenn's new lead is Gorbis at level 43, with the Swift Swim ability, holding a Lumberry, knowing Water Pulse, Amnesia, Rain Dance and Baton Pass. It's a more supportive lead slot. Gorbis can set up the Rain, boost its Spadef, and then switch into a more offensive team member. Water Pulse still being the stab of choice for that TM rep isn't great, but it is no weaker than most of Hoenn's original team members, and should be far more useful than that Love Disc lead. Hoenn is a rather fanciful fellow, so I believe Gorbis would suit him well, and maybe this is just me, but it gives me a sort of Love Disc vibe. Second out is Lantern at level 44 with Volt Absorb, holding a magnet, and it knows Surf, Thunder, Ice Beam and Thunder Wave. Being immune to electric without having to deal with the 4x grass weakness is great, and I am a bit of a fan of Lantern. Actually, before Haunter, Lantern was at least one of my favourites. Anyway, it's got cool typing, and with the Rain potentially set up, we have 100% accurate Thunders, boosted by the magnet. We provided Lantern with the far better Water Stab and Surf, Ice Beam for grass types, and lastly Thunder Wave, just to have a Pokemon on his team that can guarantee a status to inflict. Third out is Masquerain at level 44 with Intimidate, holding a Citrus Berry, and it knows Water Pulse, Ice Beam, Giga Drain and Rain Dance. It's not a water type, oh no, I've committed a crime! Deal with it, you nerds. Masquerain evolves from a water type, Surskit, and Hoenn actually uses one in the anime, don't you know? Honestly, it's a pretty interesting Pokemon, as you can see, getting to learn water and ice moves. It also is a solid option against grass types. So Hoenn, you can have at least one Pokemon as a dedicated electric counter, and one for the grass. Aside from that, its Intimidate ability is always great, and it generally benefits from the Rain halving its fire weakness. While I admit it's not the best mon stat-wise, I think I'm just a sucker for adding in Pokemon that don't match the gym's type, if they actually have genuine reasons to be on the team anyway. Out fourth is Crawdon at level 44, holding a Mystic Water with the Shell Armor ability, and it knows Water Pulse, Crab Hammer, Knock Off and Brick Break. Instead of Taunt and Leer, we have the only Dark Stab available to Crawdon, 20 base power Knock Off, and a decent physical option in Brick Break. And of course, yeah, Knock Off it's weak, but item removal is a seldom seen strategy in-game. And by Gym 8, the player should definitely have some stuff equipped. I like Brick Break here as it's the TM you can find in Sutopolis, and it's holding a Mystic Water to really make those Crab Hammers hit hard, especially if it crits. Last out is Kingdra at level 46 with Swift Swim, holding a Chester Berry, and no Surf, Ice Beam, Double Team and Rest. Very simply, the only change here is upgrading Water Pulse to Surf. While Water Pulse I do see serving a purpose with its 20% confusions, I think the damage increase of just over 1.5 times, thanks to Surf, will be worth it. So here's Hoenn's new team, with good options for both water types weaknesses, baton passing boosts, knocking off items, Resto Chesto still being a thing. His team has a lot of different strategies for the player to overcome, which is fitting for the final gym leader, I'd say. And there we have it, the updated Hoenn gym leaders. I think it's interesting that a lot of the gym leaders' aces are, I'd say, very iconic and oftentimes are a sizable step above the rest of their teams, more so than in other games, so this was mainly a case of bringing the rest of their team members up to speed. Anyway, leave a comment on how you think I've done and give me your own team ideas for the gym leaders. Thank you all for watching and I hope you have a good day. See ya.